Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Football Uncensored podcast with myself, Rob Kirton, asking the questions and raising a few points for, of course, John Sitton to answer and offer us all his views, opinions, and insight. John, how are you, mate? I know before we get into the bit of analysis about the playoffs and the Premier League finale, you just want to quickly mention something that's very topical as we record.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, literally the minutes ago. Just a vile like maniac. It's just interrupted Liverpool's victory parade, victory procession, and ploughed through three different groups of supporters in a vehicle. Um, Given their due to Liverpool supporters, because obviously it's very, very emotive. They've tried to get at the guy, and the police have ended up pulling him out of the vehicle and slinging him in a van, and actually protecting him from people trying to get at him. And quite rightly, because obviously there might have been a few there who had a near miss themselves. All we got to hope is, please God, no one is killed from it. And going on what I saw is just like horrific, and like totally premeditated by the looks of it. That's obviously the workings of a maniac. Why would you do it? Why would anyone do it at any given time? Never mind like a joyous occasion. And then we just got to hope that people are not too seriously injured. The ones that are injured, it's not too serious, and justice prevails, and they make a quick recovery as well. Yeah, so our
Obviously, yeah,
our faults, like you know, I would think most decent-minded people are with those that have been hurt on what should have been a joyous occasion.
yeah, obviously I'd echo that. Just insane. I got yeah. There's no other word no other word to describe it. Well, there's one or two, but
Mm.
probably a little bit more bluer than that. So yes, um, thoughts and prayers to those affected by the parade. We can only cross our fingers and absolutely everything that,
Yeah,
as John says, nothing too serious. Well, we're going to move on to a bit of football. We're going to start with the playoff finals. They've all occurred over the last few days. So the promotions to the Premier League, League One, and League Two, sorry, Premier League Championship and League One have been decided. Conference One still to take place, I think. A slightly obvious place to start, some might say, but we're going to briefly go with Charlton against Leyton Orient first. Charlton obviously winning the game. I didn't see it personally. John, I know you've seen a few highlights. Anything you'd like to bring up?
only very brief highlights. I don't get Sky, so I never saw it live. Um, And then when me and my missus got into a film, so I knew they were showing the highlights on ITV4, which I watched the night before to watch the highlights of Sunderland Sheffield United. And I missed it. So then I ended up looking it up on YouTube, and it was the briefest of brief highlights. All I'll say is it looked to me like um, Charlton were very well disciplined, maybe played Orient a little bit of their own game, the way Orient set up against Man City in the cup, and probably have done a few other occasions where they defended a little bit deeper, what they call a low block. Rode their luck a little bit in the penalty area. Never got out to close balls down on some occasions. On other occasions, when they did, it took a ricochet, and then it forced one good save from the goalkeeper, one hit the bar. But where the Orient are concerned, I don't think they got the ball wide enough to stretch the game. Once you pull it inwards, instead, you then use that opportunity when you brought the opposition narrow to then play it wide, try and get down the sides. I thought they'd have got more joy out of the crosses. Saw a lot of WWF in the penalty area from set pieces. They looked, listening, it's disappointing in hindsight. It was very disappointing. I thought the free kick was a definite free kick. I thought the goal was very, very disappointing from Leyton Orient's point of view for a number of reasons. Um, there's pluses and minuses. I don't think the wall made themselves big enough. When they get like with the wall jumping as the guys made the approach for the direct kick. The guy's gone
Mm.
up, fainted, then the left foot has come up. And you know he's going to make contact with the ball. Some of them do that ridiculous thing where they lay people across. Well, let me tell you something. Inevitably, players, if that happens and it bobbles along like a daisy cutter along the thing, that's an accident, more by accident than design. I think it's the waste of a player. Quite rightly, there was no one put there. So then what you've got to do is you say the guy's going to maybe whip it over the wall and bend it. What I will say from a coaching point of view, I don't think the wall made themselves big enough and jumped into the ball. Too honest, like the way I was brought up. Tuck your head in, cover your nuts, but try and shuffle forward and nick a yard. He was brilliant at that. He used to say, like, as he's about to stepped up to take the kick, maybe creep in a yard. So that narrows the angle a little bit. Thought the goalkeeper was too far over. He's had a great season. Done really well for him. I think he's one of the lone players, but I think he was found wanting on this occasion. I thought he over exaggerated too far over the starting position, and it was the wrong starting position. Not only too far over, but he should have been another yard off his line, which also narrows the angle. When I used to coach goalkeepers or defending free kicks, I would always raise the point to put pressure on the free kick taker, put pressure on the kicker. And the way you can do that is have a very, very bold starting position. Like I say, creep up the line of the ball, maybe nick half a yard. And I think if he hadn't started too far over, I think he would have got, because he actually got a hand to it, or both hands to it, and it seemed to go through his tops of his fingers. I think he would have made the save. And then who knows what would have happened. Having said that, I don't think either side had, it wasn't a great game. Don't think either side had a great deal of invention, imagination, fantasy. Um, both very resilient. Listen, you've got to commend both sides. They said before the start of the game how far down the league both sides were, particularly my old club, Leyton Orient. I think they were in the bottom four around December. And I
Yeah,
think the players and staff to be um, tremendously complimented and commended on their run of form. There were a couple of times when players switched off. I looking at it. I thought he was a threat, Galbraith. I like him. I thought he was a big threat going forward. I thought they should have utilised him more. But maybe not a blessing in disguise because I look at the centre backs. I don't fancy him. Even the boy they got from Charlton, actually, I think he was playing against his old club. Never been a better time to be like a big lump, a big muscular athlete. I thought a couple of times they're caught lacking in football intelligence, defensive intelligence. Not just on that occasion, on many occasions when I've watched the highlights this season. So maybe it's a blessing in disguise because I think unless there'd have been a complete overhaul of the squad, I think they'd have got found out. They would have been favourites probably for relegation. To defy that would have been another magnificent season to consolidate. It might have been a blessing in disguise. Financially, they rolled the dice for a few years now, losing approximately 4 million a year. They rolled the dice, got to the playoffs. I think a near miss is probably better for them,
mm.
if I'm honest. Now the situation next year, which you already should have been putting things in place for, it's a case of whether he can keep his better players. His better players seem to be the ones who are bought in on loan. Add to them, keep the ones he's got, um, and maybe regenerate certain areas of the pitch. And then if that's the case, without tinkering with it too much, I would probably make them like short odds up favourites as long as they don't get the same start as last year. Short odds up favourites to be automatically promoted next year. Um,
ways
so yeah,
indeed.
very, very commendable effort. But a bit disappointing from that point of view.
Well,
Like being one of my old clubs.
time will
Uh,
tell next season, as you say, whether it was a. Oh, well, we won't know for definite whether it was a blessing in disguise or not in terms of the championship, obviously, but their performance in League One next year, if they do what you're possibly predicting they can, then I'm sure the majority, if not all, Leyton Orient fans will be quite happy about that rather than a season of struggle and possible relegation. I'm sure they'd all much rather have one of possible promotion, maybe automatic promotion.
without a shadow
Right.
of a doubt, and they would have preferred it
I know I would.
yesterday. Yeah, without a doubt, they'd have preferred it yesterday. Um, just get up and then worry about everything after.
Yeah.
Um,
Another
nevertheless,
thing.
they didn't, and like I say, you know, whether or not it's a silver lining, you don't know until next season. But
No.
it might have been a blessing in disguise because I'm not sure how much more they could have stretched the finances. They tell me now the gates have probably doubled from when I was there as a player and as a coach or co-manager. They've probably doubled to 9K, which people tell me it's a sellout. So I don't know what that's about. In terms of expanding the club, I still maintain the majority should be homegrown. But like I said, also you're surrounded on all sides by the big guns, Tottenham and Arsenal to the north, West Ham to the east, Charlton through the pipe, Millwall through the pipe. So you're very much up against it. I'm not so sure. Um, it might even be the third pack of lies that I saw. One article I was made aware of where a certain individual said he pumps a lot of money into the club, and then he decided that it was time to get out. I'm not so sure that's the case because it totally contradicts what was said to me. Um, but you know, nevertheless, they rolled the financial dice, and like I say, they might have been better off flirting with it rather than actually achieving it. Although I'm pretty sure, like most supporters, would like to have seen them get up after 43 years since they've been out of the Championship, which is a long, long time. I think they got relegated 82,
Maybe
83 season, something like that.
maybe they'll only have to wait 44 years if next season obviously comes true. We'll see.
Yeah, yeah,
Another club that went up, moving up, yeah, moving up a division to the Championship playoffs. Um, I know you saw a lot of the fans in London, I think, when you were out at work the other day. Obviously, Sunderland emerged victorious in the Championship playoff final.
yeah.
So they'll be talking Burnley and Leeds. Oh, sorry,
Lovely people, by the way. Lovely
Leeds.
people, by the way. They've been down a couple of times over the last few years. I can only talk from my own personal experience. Um, boisterous, yeah. Um, passionate and noisy, loud, yeah. But lovely, lovely, warm people. Very, very passionate supporters, just there for to have a good time. And I'll be honest with you, when I went to work Saturday, um, I think if it weren't for Sunderland supporters and one demo, London would have been empty. And then I saw them again Saturday night. Um, yeah, getting ready for celebrations after the game. I got to say they were a joy to be around. And I thought in the end fully they ground it out, fully deserved the win. Going 1-0 down. I don't know if you see the goal. It was a
I've not, I must
run from
admit.
quite deep. Son of one of my old teammates, which was pretty eerie because there was this thing what it means to be an Orient supporter done by an acquaintance and friend of mine, Daniel Mace, and never
I
mentioned
saw
the
that.
18. Yeah, I've got to mention the he flipped open a burger carton. Who can forget John Sitton? Yeah, which was I thought funny, but at the same time, it don't surprise me as being totally disrespectful because I was the first captain of an Orient team to get promoted via the playoffs. Never mentioned the fact that we got up via the playoffs. Never mentioned the 88, 89 team that I captained that got up via the playoffs and got promotion. And one of the members of that squad early on before it came to the last knockings. What a farce of a season it was because I remember the coincidences. We were actually bottom six. We just went on this run, coincided with the former Lee Harvey, Mark Cooper, and the arrival of Kevin Campbell. And I saw his son score over the weekend, Tyrese. And boy, does he look like him around the centre of their thing, the nose and their with little flared nostrils. Said Kevin, that very handsome boy, Kevin, lovely, lovely, lovely human being. Um, and yeah, he gave us that thing where we kicked on. And then I was going through some old films, you know. I think what the difference between the teams were, because other people got to mention, you know, it's different things named after him. Comfort, he got a bar named after him. I think he was only there a year. Someone else got a stand named after him. He was only there a year or just over a year. And then my missus said, I can see you're hurt. It was quite hurtful having been there 10 years, great service. and then become like almost, yeah, but I got to hold my hands up to it. Might be self-inflicted, an object of ridicule. You know what I mean? Rather than look at the positives that was accomplished. Um, but I looked at some of the old games, and I think we had more audacity than this Orient team. I think we were more solid, probably better drilled, and had players that could change games. Quite right there, Daniel, when he mentioned Stevie Castle, boss in midfield, formidable player and athlete, great colleague, great guy to have in front of you. We had a solid back four. Me and Keith Day had a great partnership. We had the best goalkeeper outside the top division. And then we had all audacity and flair and invention with Alan Comfort, Lee Harvey, with that plus pace, and Mark Cooper, who was just like he would try stuff, and if it come off, like I saw his hat trick against Scunthorpe, unbelievable, and like you just think the sheer audacity of it, and it was absolutely magnificent, marvelous to watch. It really was. I don't think that side, it definitely didn't on that piece of film, but that team never got the credit it deserved. Going back to the Sunderland Sheffield United game, I thought that might be it when Sheffield United took the lead, but through Tyrese, and then they hung on. Sunderland nicked the equaliser, which was also a good run. It went from deep and then away from the ball, um, and then it got great ball threaded to him, and he buried that. Then the winner. Funny thing is, I said before the game, I had a sneaky feeling for Sunderland because I just think it's fate. A lot of it's fate. A lot of it is just it's your time. That's why I was so convinced that Orient might win. I just think there's time. Like on occasions, it's just like it happens to be your time. It happens to be fate. The fact that like, the Ozers, for instance, I think they had one game blip. They won six on the spin or undefeated for six, something along like that. Then they had a one game blip, then come back, and then it was seven or it was seven on the bounce. I happen to believe that at the time they had the momentum and the fact that the good players were producing. But it wasn't to be. Sunderland was to be. So I got one out of two right. Um, yeah.
That's all not
So
got on the
good luck
weekend.
to them.
More
Going to
done.
be a tough year for them next year, though.
I was, yeah, just going to sort of move on to that. Obviously, if you
Leeds,
truthfully,
Burnley, and them, innit?
yeah, if you could impart one, I'll call it piece of advice. I don't know, words of wisdom, whatever you want to call it, for the three promoted clubs to
Mm.
avoid or try and avoid what's happened this season, and I believe I'm right in saying the season before, three
Yeah,
promoted clubs going straight back down. This season
yeah,
being particularly bad, as we've spoken about,
yeah.
all too often
Statistically,
from
an absolute nightmare. It's the lowest points total of all three clubs
uh,
um, in relegation history from the Premier League. I think it's a combined total of, was it 59 or
roughly
39?
around that. Well, put it this way, I know how many Saints got.
How
So
many
that's
did you get?
12.
Yeah,
I
so it
think
might even be
Ipswich got,
39. I think it might be 59.
yeah, not many
Or in
anyway.
the middle, 49. But I was watching it, and when they'd done the thing last night, and I just said, that's horrendous. Well, Burnley renowned this season for being very tight at the back. So any advice in part is drill the team relentlessly, um, get lots of rest and recovery, rest and recover the right way. Um, Keep the best players that have got you promoted, and that's their reward. If you've got to discard one or two, not the end of the world, but make sure you spend money strengthening. Um, but then again, sometimes I think that's another statistic. I look like Ipswich, 130, 140 million.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, you can't say they spended that wisely, or it might not have been the players. And somehow, um, the staff, the coaching attitude, if you like, I think they got away with it a little bit under the radar because I think a lot of it was self-inflicted. It's like I said numerous occasions in previous podcasts, when you got people trying to be Pep Light and they're all trying to copy this so-called blueprint of the way Man City played with the goalkeeper rolling it out from the imaginary five-a-side arc and playing from the back like you're on the six-a-side court. That ain't going to happen because the opposition are going to lie in wait, set traps, concede the ball to a certain distance, and then just lock on and fly in. And as was shown, a lot of people were without the ability to skip round being pressed by an opposition forward, or play through them and play round them and through the three thirds. Inevitably, the ball got pinched a lot and it ended up in the back of their own net. So a lot of it was self-inflicted. Um, yeah, I think certain clubs showed that set pieces were important. So, the percentage of goals from set pieces, work hard on the set pieces, work hard on the patterns of play, finishing. Every individual, you've got to try and, like I used to try and drum it into them just as an individual when you win your 1v1, which is a bit cliched. And then I sort of turned on that a little bit and said, just be hard to beat. So when you're defending, you've got to be willing to do the graft and be hard to beat because it goes in layers. And if the first one collapses and the second one collapses, and you understand and everyone's too easy to beat, you end up too easy to play against. That's what I mean by that.
Okay. Well, hopefully there's some people linked to those clubs that are going to tune into this and watch. The best of luck to Sunderland and Burnley and Leeds in the Premier League next season. It's going to be interesting to watch how that all plays out, and I'm sure we'll
Leeds will buy. Leeds will buy.
yeah.
Burnley should buy because if anything else, if you go on, if you look at the amount of money that the budget restrictions Sean Dyche worked under. People who've watched this podcast know that I love his refreshing honesty and candidness and the unbelievable job he did on a restricted budget compared to the guy that followed him, who still got relegated. I think it's phenomenal. So it ain't always all about the budget. Sometimes it's about the approach. It's about the preparation, the coaching, the organisation, getting the best out of what you got. But yeah, I mean, he won't make that mistake again, will he? I mean, Scott, with the Bournemouth thing after,
Let's
he
hope
said,
not.
no, it's
For your sake.
plainly obvious we're not good enough to do,
Mm.
paraphrasing, obviously, but something along them lines. And
Mm.
he was brutally honest, like I was in my time. And yeah, he
Yeah,
paid the price for it. And then he's had a couple of jobs, and then like he's managed to come back and basically reignite his reputation.
phenomenal defensive record. Was it something like 15 or 16 goals
15.
all
Yeah,
season?
or yeah, it was 15 but going into the last game, I think. I don't know. But anyway,
Yeah.
that's by the bike. It'd be a different ball game next year. Be a different ball
Well,
game next year. The funny thing is they highlighted things on Match of the Day last night with what we've been saying a lot about over a period of years, not just a season, with regards to Arsenal getting a centre forward. You didn't need the brains of Lloyd George, something along them lines. He was saying Shearer. Oh yeah, but we have just been saying it this season. Because whoever's made the decision not to buy a centre forward or paid the money for the wrong centre forward with a low conversion rate, ergo Havertz, and then the guy who was at the end of his days City, Jesus, got to be a steward there. You know what I mean? You're better off making one marquee signing who's going to lift the whole thing than trying little piecemeal stuff.
I think we'll probably maybe in a couple of weeks or so we might do an episode sort of once the season's finished and the dust has settled and talk a bit about transfers and managers and the possible movements of players and managers, etc. So if we park that one and sort of the Premier League, 'cause I think we might need another episode to sort of do a bit on the last games of the Premier League that were played yesterday, and finish the last 5 or 6 minutes as we've again flown through with. We'll stick to the theme of finals. Obviously, it was the Europa League final a few days ago last week. Spurs v Man U. Obviously, Spurs winning 1-0. Not again, not particularly exciting game by the sounds of it. And Spurs won it playing pretty much the exact opposite of how they've played all season, was my understanding of it. I've not seen any of it, but did you manage to see any of it, John? What did you
Yeah,
what did
yeah.
you
I thought, yeah. I mean, considering it's those two clubs, I thought poor quality game. There's a couple of players there I'm not a fan of. I was talking to my oldest girl's father-in-law today, Spurs fanatics, the whole family that side. They've somehow managed to rope like my daughter into being one. But they all went to White Hart Lane to watch it on the big screen being relayed. I'm not a fan of the left back, never have been. And then you got the thing yesterday. Couple of things. I thought we got very defensive, rightly or wrongly, when they said I think it was a female interviewer asked, the manager, what's your assessment of this season? And he said, amazing. Um, I think the game reflected it was 16th versus 17th, lacking in quality. As we predicted, I think Spurs had the edge and they won it. Good luck to them. First European trophy since what, 84.
Before,
Old
yeah,
playing
Tony
colleague
Parks,
from the
all that.
school days. He was in that side, my mate Paul Miller. Great Spurs side and Spurs first trophy since the Woodgate, since it kept winning off his face when they'd done my old firm in the League Cup. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, so good luck to them. But that's one of the ones you're talking about. Look, without the thing, probably um, unintentionally, Rob, because until you know where the manager stands, he said he expects, but he ain't been told anything, but he expects to be there for first day of pre-season. But you can't put your plans in place and make your signings from way back when you've been having the season they've had been having, and there's speculation about his future, whether he's going to be there or he ain't going to be there. So, you might be weighing up a new manager and you can't go out buying players that a new manager might not have wanted. So it's a very precarious situation. Um, yeah, quickly through it. What do we get? We got I said Spurs on Newcastle League Cup. It was Newcastle,
yeah,
Liverpool for the league for the last two seasons. Runners up last year, winners this year. City let me down for the FA Cup. Real Madrid let me down for the Champions League. So again, they've got to be commended. Palace for an unbelievable performance against City. By and large, we got the top end right. The ones that the thing, if you go back about 3, 4, 5 episodes, you said, do you think they'll hang on? I said, no, I think they'll fall away and it'll be the usual suspects. So your Brentford, your Fulhams, who were bunching up in the top sixth, seventh, fifth, Forest, Brentford, Fulham, Villa to a degree, they all fell away. And I said it'll be the usual suspects. And as it turned out, Liverpool, Arsenal, City, Chelsea, Newcastle, who are now like they're banging the frame now with their backing. And they're
yeah,
starting to come into their own. If they strengthen, watch out for them next year. His management's been superb. Even when they had a bit of a rocky patch and the bit when he was ill, when they were like blowing hot and cold. Um, got a trophy on the sideboard now. That should give them a lift. And then if they strengthen in the right areas, which I think there's a couple of key areas where they could get a bit of help. Then there'll be a force to be reckoned with. Well, I think they're not too far away. Arsenal's we know lacking a couple of front players. Spurs, like I said, you can't put anything in place until the speculation's over with the manager.
by the Spurs thing, I mean that's a completely subjective question, isn't it? How did you think the season went, or however it was asked? On the one hand, Postecoglou answers it, what did he say? Amazing or marvellous or something like that. And he
Mm.
said, first trophy in 17 years, and we qualified for the Champions League.
Yeah,
What are you going to do was basically his answer, wasn't it? And then
yeah, that's right. Yeah, but like I
the
said
other
to my,
side,
my oldest girl's father-in-law, Rob, let me put this to you. What kind of season do you think it would have been if they'd have got beat 1-0? Because you got the shame, and I mean the shame of finishing 17th,
yeah,
one above the three that went down after losing. What was it? Mental amount. That's 20
22
odd
games, I
games. Yeah,
think.
it's 20 odd games.
22 out of 38, including getting tubbed 4-1 at home yesterday, but they were probably all a bit hungover.
Well, if they were, they shouldn't have been. If they were, I said to my oldest girl's father, and I said, well, that's Spurs for you, isn't it? I know the thing.
Spursy.
Listen, I was socialising with them in the 80s. I know the gaff inside out. There's a lot of stuff still goes on in football. I've been a long way away from it. That goes on that I still know about. And I could be very controversial online. I could be very controversial on here. And there's one team's management team in the playoffs, lucky to have had a management team after an incident at a Christmas party at a very high profile place in central London. Maybe watch this space. It depends whether I can have the story factually confirmed involving a family member, shall we say, of a very close friend and ex-colleague of mine. Okay.
Right.
So there's a lot.
Maybe
So
we
the
book
point
two.
being, there's a lot that goes on that are still here. Right.
Hmm.
So the point I'm making is that would sum them up. If they've been, if they've won the first European, lovely. Okay. Now we've got this last game of the season. Let's finish it on a high, be professional, and then you can get pissed for 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, if you like. But I want a result in the last home game. So it's not only a send off parading the trophy, and you've got all the old faces there from Chivers to Perriman to Ardiles, Graham Roberts, etc., on the pitch, rightfully so. Mickey Hazard, my ex-neighbour, he was across the road from me when I lived at the boundary of Edmonton and Tottenham. Mickey, lovely, lovely guy, lovely man, a gentleman. Um, me personally, that's how I'd want it. And that's how I think you've got to be as a manager. You know what I mean? But maybe that's why I'm not a manager, because I want perfection until the end. And then you can go get your mind can be on the beach if you're not involved internationally. Then your mind can be on the beach. Then you can spend 3, 4 days getting drunk. You understand? But I want to send our supporters home, not only thing, but their last memory would not of a 4-1 thrashing home to Brighton and have it right. It could have been 5 or 6, right? Um, but also but a win as well as showing them the trophy. You know what I mean? But maybe that sums the club up. I think it's a core issue with regards to the culture there, and it has been for 30 years.
We mentioned that before about the culture and off the back of the documentaries, but I
Yeah,
think
they're each
you
to
made
their own. Get on
yeah,
with it.
you made the point exactly right, and it's the ultimate sliding doors moment could work out brilliantly for
Listen, I I,
could be a
I
turning
realised.
point. 1-0 win versus 1-0 defeat the other night.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Listen,
How
I
different.
realised a long time ago. It's too late where my own career was concerned, but good luck to these managers that come in and they go, if they want to try and change the world in terms, what I mean by that is the culture, right? And the chairman said, you go ahead, you've got carte blanche for the next 3 years or the next 4 years, right? I'm going to be shoulder to shoulder with you. More often than not, the chairman shit a brick because the supporters are paying for them, right? I can see why managers go, you know what? Okay, get on with it. Sort me out my compensation. I want it paid up in full, which I think they have to do by law. Within 28 days, I'm off ski. Get on with it. I can see that. I can see that. It's like, unless you go in and you allow me to change the mentality of the club, right? This is what's going to be happening for another decade, right? But as far as he's concerned, right, the deluded guy, it's mission accomplished. But to me, 17th is an embarrassment. And the other one above them, that's an even bigger embarrassment because they've spent knocking on the door of £1 billion. That's a bigger embarrassment.
We might come to that a bit more if we do another one. Just quickly, we are literally down the last couple of minutes, so I want to end on a very positive note. If it's right with you, John. Saw a
I
football
am
video.
being positive. I'm giving remedies.
Oh, I know you are.
I'm
I'm
giving
more okay.
remedies. Go on.
I'm more light. All right, I'll rephrase that. Light-hearted. I saw a video, football video that you posted during the week of
I'm my grandson.
a young grassroots game. Saw an individual make a good recovery run, then ball win, dribble, look up, finish, top bins in the corner.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah. It was sick. It was 6 yesterday.
six
It was sick.
yesterday.
Yeah.
Oh,
So last week it was still 5. And what happened was he got it, won it, went on a mazy, had it pinched off him. And I said, this is my favourite bit of the video. Right. He turns around, he gets after the kid, he wins it back, then he goes on the mazy and puts it in the top corner. But today, apparently, according to his dad, I weren't there. They played at Leyton Orient on the pitch, and there was like hundreds and hundreds of adults there, and they couldn't cope with it. But they were playing against, and it's funny, and it's funny, it's amazing to me. No academy players, please, no academy players. And every team had academy players, and they come up against team who have been together for a year or more. And one's in the Palace Academy, someone else in the Spurs. And my grandson's little mob are just thing. They're just a group of lads that get together a couple of times a week, and the volunteers do absolutely marvellous with them. Yeah, but I was well proud of it. Yeah,
quite
performance and
rightly
goal of the
so.
week. I'll give him
Quite rightly
performance
so.
and goal of the week. That was
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. Right, 20 seconds. So very
yeah.
thank you very much from me, and what a lovely note to finish on. And we'll see you soon for the next episode. Cheers.
Cheers for your time, Rob. Thanks, everyone. Hope there's a couple of nuggets in there. Um, Watch this space. We'll try and do another one. See
Absolutely.
you later.